could do it that way, and they do it in some countries in the world. They simply choose to use the system, I think, as a system of control, so that they can reward some and punish others, so that they don't need to go through any disciplinary processes or systems in order to sack somebody or punish somebody or bully somebody, which is part of the culture of these companies. So we told them we had to fix this issue. We felt strong enough. We'd existed in the industry for a decade. We'd done the collective agreements, not without some difficulty, especially with McDonald's. It took several rounds of fights with McDonald's over some months, through long winter months at times, but targeting the companies and targeting the brands as much as the industrial action was important. That political sort of message that these companies were exploiters, these companies were abusers, these companies were taking advantage of migrant workers. So we came after them, we came to them in 2013 and said, you've got to fix this issue. We want guaranteed hours. We dubbed them zero-hour contracts. We used that, wasn't a term that was actually popularly used in New Zealand, so we dubbed them zero-hour contracts, and it took off because it was true. The contracts had, we do not guarantee any hours. So we could show the contracts to the media, and I think it took off in New Zealand in the sort of there was broad public support, national news programs coming, national media adopting the campaign and supporting the campaign. I think it took off in that way because every family could probably point to somebody, because these things have become so ubiquitous and widespread. For example, the Restaurant Association sends out a draft contract which says you will be available 24 hours. It says you will be available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and we will roster you when and how as needed. That's a draft contract that's sent out by the main sort of employer body. That's like, I don't know what that is. It's not civilization. You know, this is not the 21st century. So, but I think people recognise that, and recognise the widespread nature of it, and recognise the abusive nature of it. So it took off in the media. The government, I'll finish this quickly. The government promised to end the worst abuses, and they tried to slippery. It's a Tory government, right? Slippery. We're going to get rid of the worst abuses. It's, whether you get sent home or whether, it was all bullshit. But they kept, and in fact, the draft law was going to legalise zero-hour contracts. It was going to be possibly a worse situation than what we had started with. But they lost the support of the support parties they needed. They don't have a majority in Parliament on their own. They need the support of one or two smaller parties in order to carry the legislation in Parliament. The two smaller parties pulled out because they knew it was bullshit. They weren't getting rid of zero-hour contracts like they promised. And so they had to go to the Labour Party in Parliament and come to an agreement. And the end result was that the New Zealand Parliament, including one right-wing libertarian sort of ACT MP, extreme right-winger, the New Zealand Parliament voted unanimously to abolish zero-hour contracts just a few months ago, and that was it was a significant victory. It was even a little bit better than I expected. They've got to have every worker's got to have guaranteed hours, and any hours that aren't guaranteed, there's got to be a good reason for, and you've got to be compensated for being available for any hours that you're not being guaranteed. So it's a significant step forward, and already the major fast food companies are coming to us with proposals, including KFC and Burger King, to give not just guaranteed hours, which we negotiated in our contracts, but actual guaranteed shifts each week from week to week, which our workers actually want. So this was a major victory. It didn't happen overnight. It was a decade in the making in one sense, but it was, I think it was part of actually the world is saying we've had enough of this experiment that you've imposed on us, that the ruling class has imposed on us all around the world, many countries, where they've casualised and created this precarious workforce. It's not necessarily a natural state of affairs. We got rid of it once, and I believe that we can get rid of it again. So, kia ora, thank you.